Hello and welcome to Two Queens, Two Crowns. I am your host, KJ Miller, founder, lecturer, and content creator. And today I am by myself because my co-host, Erica Manganelli, has food poisoning. She has food poisoning. She texted me a few hours ago and was like, I'm so sorry to cancel, but I have food poisoning. Girl, please cancel. Please. If you've ever had food poisoning, you know, oh my God. I think the last time I had it, New Year's, going into, I want to say 2020, maybe 2019. And I got a chopped cheese from the bodega across the street of my apartment in Harlem. I was in Harlem at the time. No, okay, so this would have been 2018 going into 2019. Yes. Got a chopped cheese at the end of the night. The whole New Year's Eve celebration had been amazing. Oh my God, we had so much fun. Got that chopped cheese. I've never regretted anything more in my life. By the time I got to my apartment and had eaten through maybe half of it, done. Ooh, terrible. And we had many, many people staying at our apartment that night. Oh God. That's not the point. The point is, Erica girl, please feel better. You don't have to be sorry to me. I'm sorry for you, but it does mean it's going to be a solo episode, and it's not going to be the episode I had planned. I had planned to do a classic Two Queens, Two Crowns, where I was going to speak about two queens who had been historically pitted against one another and, you know, sort of give my take on how they had helped one another. That'll have to wait. It'll have to wait. We're going to do another Queen Things, and that's not bad news because, boy, do we have some comments to get into. And some things I want to talk about. A couple things in particular, which we'll get into right after this. Before we dive in, I do have to say a quick word about our subscriber-only episodes because this is a listener-supported podcast. We do not have advertisers. You've never heard an ad on this podcast. We are bringing you the content, and I am bringing you the content because I love to bring you this content and I'd like to keep doing it. And if you subscribe, you make that easier for me to do. So you can go to patreon.com/2queens2crowns to get our bonus episodes, or you can go to my Substack, KJ Off the Clock, or you can go straight through Apple. I've given you so many ways to do it. I hope if you love the content, you will subscribe to the bonus episodes. That's all I have to say about that. Now let's get back to the show. Well, as you guys know, I usually kick off Queen Things episodes by diving into the comment section. And the comment section, oh God. It's like I have to brace myself to get into it this week because I spoke about Taylor. Oh God. I spoke about Taylor and her quote unquote MAGA problem. And I'm getting raked over the coals for it. I spoke about it on my personal TikTok, and then we posted about it on the Two Queens TikTok. I've lost 300 followers at least. I was at 347,000.8, so 347.8 when we posted that episode, and when I posted my comments, and now I'm at 347.5 the last time I checked. I think I'm doing, yes, 300 followers. So, you know, it's just, oh my God, it's like going insane. And if you think I'm being sarcastic, right? Like, oh no, I'm not being sarcastic. Like I deeply feel like sad when I lose followers. 300, 3,000, whatever it is, it does make me sad. Like it does affect me. I'm not a big enough creator who's like been through it enough times to just be like, whatever. That's actually not how I feel. I'm sure there are creators who feel that way. That's not me. And I have reported it to my husband each time I look and I'm like, God damn it, lost another 100. He's heard every word. Okay. So for one thing, people are mad. People are unsubscribing. Now, I will say, I think something weird is going on in TikTok right now. I don't think it's entirely related to this take, but do I think we can ascribe like 80-90% of it to this take? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. People are upset, and I get that. I've said this before. Like, if Taylor Swift is to you what Beyoncé has always been to me, there is always going to be like a knee-jerk reaction of a Hell no. And by the way, we're gonna get into that sentiment exactly, because one of the comments basically accused me of being a Beyonce fan and not a Taylor fan. We'll get into it. But, I've been a Beyonce fan since I was 11 years old. I'm 39. So, and I know there are many, many Taylor Swift fans in the same boat, where when you've been a fan of somebody for that long and they've guided you through, their music has guided you through your pivotal moments in life, there is always going to be just like a visceral, strong reaction and like defense of that person. And I get it, and I'll never hate on anybody for that. And I think some of that is where the reaction to just like unfollow me is coming from, it, which is everybody's right. You're allowed to unfollow me just like I'm allowed to block folks, and I do. You get rude up in those comments, boop, that's a block. So I get that. I also just feel what I feel, believe what I believe. I still very much consider myself to be a Taylor Swift fan. I go down and sit at my piano and play songs almost every morning. She regularly makes it into my repertoire of music that I sit down and play, because I love her music that much and her songs have meant that much to me. And yet, do I find her recent, I mean, not even recent if we count the Mahomeses in them, but foray into palling around with the MAGAs and the MAGOs and the MAGEttes to be problematic? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'm not going to backtrack from that. I do. And I felt a sort of way about it. I spoke about it, and people felt a sort of way about that. And now we're going to get into the comments. With that very long disclaimer out of the way, let's just jump in. All right, let's jump right in with somebody named Amy Requena. I might be mispronouncing that. AIME, first name, last name REQUENA. But I can promise you, I'm not attempting to mispronounce it. If I am, Amy says, KJ is not a Swiftie. She's a Beyonce fan who uses Taylor for clout. Now, I had already not planned out, but like thought through some of what I wanted to say in response to Amy. But right when I went to go find the comment just to make sure I was quoting her correctly, I saw that she'd replied to me again, because I had replied to that and said, gonna reply to this on the pod. Amy had more to say. Let's dig in, shall we? She says, funny how you never have the same energy for Beyonce. Her husband being decade-old friends with Diddy, the Buffalo Soldier shirt calling Native Americans and Mexicans savages, question mark, question mark, question mark. She continues, oh, and how about Tyler Perry? Someone with abuse allegations sitting with Tina Knowles at the CC tour. Okay, I replied just now. And this, Amy, is how I know you are racist. But I'm going to reply anyway, even though you don't deserve that. And she doesn't. I'm pretty sure it's a woman. She doesn't. I'm going to reply in stages. I want to take her first comment at face value before I knew but did suspect she's just a racist troll. Where she said, KJ's not a Swiftie, she's a Beyonce fan who uses Taylor for clout. While I've never gotten that exact comment, I have heard people sort of rumblings in the comment section who've sort of thought that. And I have thought to myself, does it come across that way to people that like, I'm not really a Taylor fan, I'm just here for clout? I have had that thought. And so I want to address, I guess, that idea first. Again, putting to the side that I am fully convinced Amy is a racist troll, but let's just put her to the side and take that sentiment. Here's what I will say. First of all, and I think I've shared this before, but I'm not positive. First of all, I have been a Beyonce fan for over 25 years. I am a bigger Beyonce fan than I am a Taylor Swift fan, necessarily. I've been with Beyonce since the beginning. I'm deeply familiar with all of her music, as in like have memorized almost all of the songs, have grown up listening to almost all of the songs, have followed her career for such a long period of time. I I have been a fan of Taylor's for less than 2 years. There's just no way these two things can like actually factually measure up, right? So let's start there. Like, let's just start with me stating the obvious. If we're going to measure how big of a fan I am, and I don't necessarily think there's a reason to do that, but if we were going to, yes, the size of my fandomhood, I think, would be greater for Beyonce, just necessarily so. That's not to say anything about their talent or success level or anything else, just like human nature, right? So let's start with that, so that if that's a thing you've been pondering and you've been very, very confused about, you don't have to be confused any longer, okay? That's number one. Number two, to this idea that I'm just using Taylor for clout, I mean, I don't think that's true, but I am a content creator. I do lean into content that I know is going to resonate with people. And so when I first made that first video about Taylor Swift, which, by the way, I spoke about on the very first episode of this podcast, when I made that first video, that was very, very just like me. I had maybe 20,000 followers at the time, saying, I'm kind of addicted to the song. It keeps making me cry. The song was Champagne Problems. Is that normal? I don't have any Swiftie friends. Is that normal? It got a huge reaction. And a lot of that reaction was Swifties telling me, listen to this next, listen to this next. And so I went down the rabbit hole and started listening to the things they were saying to listen to, and found like, oh my God, like this song and these lyrics and these lyrics. And so yes, I was having a genuine reaction to Taylor Swift's music. I think a reaction that a lot of people who listen to her music have also had, but just haven't had online. And I had that reaction online because I also was growing my content creator career and trying to make content that was resonating. That content was resonating. So I continued to make that content. I'm not going to apologize for that, right? Like that's true. So while I don't think I'm a quote unquote Taylor Swift fan for clout, I also don't think there's any point to pretending as if I don't make content that I think is going to resonate. I do. What I will also say, though, is like, if you look at all of the content that I've made since becoming a Taylor Swift fan, she certainly has made up less than half of it. I think if you really went through and counted, less than a third of it. Now, for those first couple months when I was a new Swiftie, was she almost all of my content? Yes, she was. I was deep in it. I was in the rabbit hole listening to all the songs. How many videos would you make about would have, could have, should have the first time you hear it? Hello? How many videos would you make about Tolerated? I was deep, okay? But I also grew out of the phase where every single word out of my mouth was about Taylor Swift, because, I'm a whole person with a whole slew of interests. And so since then, I've made tons of videos about Beyonce, tons of videos about politics, about Kamala, about Trump, about the New York Times, about finance bros, I've made many, many, many videos on many topics, many podcast episodes about many topics other than Taylor Swift. So, and if you look at the growth trajectory of my account, some of the biggest spikes in growth that I've gotten have had nothing to do with Taylor Swift. So I just want to be clear. I absolutely spoke about her a lot, and that helped my account grow. It is not the foundation of my account, and nor is she someone I'm speaking about in every video, or even 50% of my videos. And you don't have to believe me on that. You can literally just go watch the content to confirm if what I'm saying is true or untrue. So this idea that I'm just using her for clout, I feel like if I were just using her for clout, I'd talk about her way more. You understand, there are people whose podcasts are literally only about Taylor Swift. That's the whole subject matter. I could have done that. I didn't do that. I wasn't interested in doing that. There are people whose 90% of the content that they make on TikTok or wherever is Taylor Swift related. People who put her name in their account name, KJ Swiftie. KJ Taylor's version, KJ reputation. I didn't do any of that. Okay. So I think that idea, I mean, I don't know, come to your own conclusion on it, but like Taylor Swift is one of many topics that I'm very interested in because I find her music and her songwriting and her artistry to be very, very compelling. But I find a lot of things to be very compelling and interesting to talk about. So, come to your own conclusion on that. Okay, so that is me responding in good faith at face value to Amy's original comment. But let's now dive in to some of the more racist things she said. Okay, so first she says, funny how you never have the same energy for Beyoncé. Her husband being decade-old friends with Diddy, the Buffalo Soldier shirt, calling Native Americans and Mexicans savages. All right. And then she brings up Tyler Perry and Beyonce's mom. This is what I'm saying. And this is how I know Amy's a racist troll. I'm talking about the video I made about Taylor when we spoke about her on the podcast and when I subsequently spoke about her on my TikTok. I was talking about her decision, present day decision to hang out with known, proud, identified Trump supporters. That's the situation I'm talking about. So if you want for me to call out Beyonce, right? If you want an apples to apples comparison, you need to bring to me Beyonce hanging out with, snapping photos with, kicking it with, palling around with present day known Trump supporters. That's what you need to bring with me. Here's what's not apples to apples. Here's why I'm not entertaining this conversation. You're talking about her husband's quote unquote friendship with Diddy. And by the way, her husband's quote unquote friendship with Diddy, y'all are basing this on photos from a decade plus ago of the two of them being at the same party. Y'all aren't basing it on the two of them chopping it up and doing business deals. You're not basing it on the two of them living together. like we're talking about the fact that Jay-Z was in Diddy's orbit. By the way, so was everybody. So y'all are bringing up shit not only from years and years and years ago, but you're bringing up shit related to her husband, not Beyonce. And you're bringing it up as if it is the same as Taylor's present day decision to hang out with these known vocal Trump supporters. It's not. And y'all are only bringing it up because anytime anybody says anything even mildly critical of Taylor, you jump at the chance to throw a Black woman's name in it because you don't want there to be any mud slung at Taylor if it's not also being slung at somebody Black. That's racist. You're a racist troll. The end. That's all. If you want me to call out Beyonce for hanging today with Trump supporters, give me an example of her hanging today with Trump supporters. Give that to me. Show me that photo. Bring me that video. And then I will comment on that. You haven't done that, and you are trying to make it seem as though, KJ's not willing to hold her fave accountable. No. What I am willing to do is hold somebody accountable for the thing I've said I'm holding people accountable for. I got up here and said, if you are a Trump supporter or a Trump enabler, I think both are just as bad. So show me the evidence of Beyonce being a Trump supporter or a Trump enabler. Show me that, and then we'll have that conversation. You haven't brought it to the table because as far as we know, it doesn't exist. And if it does exist, I'll address it then. And I bet I will bring the same motherfucking energy. But if you're going to just be racist and say, you called out Taylor, but you didn't call out Beyonce for this other completely different thing. No, fuck you. I don't owe you that. Beyonce doesn't owe you that. And I'm not about to play that game with you. You want to be a racist troll? Take that to somebody else's page. Don't bring it to me here. I don't have time for it. And I truly, genuinely do not give a fuck about that. And I'm not even going to go into Tyler Perry. Racists love to be racist, don't they? No, I'm not giving my energy to the Tyler Perry of it all. Truly. So anyway, I think I've covered most of what I want to say on this. I think I covered it last week. I think making it comfortable for Trump supporters is a problem. I think Taylor has made it more comfortable for the Trump supporters in her orbit, which makes her a Trump enabler. I think that's a problem. I'm not saying let's throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not saying that she herself is MAGA. I'm not saying she's a terrible person. I'm saying I think this is a lapse in judgment. I think this is a bad call, and it makes me feel less comfortable with her as a fan, and I'm working through what that means for me. And y'all trying to bring Beyonce into it really and truly. Let me not say what I was going to say. Ooh, let me not say that. Just, you can take it somewhere else. You can take it somewhere. I don't have anything for you. I don't have anything for you if that's the energy you're on. Whew, so now I would like to switch gears entirely, and talk about a New York Times piece that I came across today. It's an opinion piece called Motherhood Should Come with a Warning Label, or at least that's what the video piece of it is called. And it's an article about the motherhood penalty, right? And I didn't come across it until today. It came out June 25th. I just want to sort of react to it. It came across my feed in the form of the accompanying video. So it's a written opinion article with an accompanying video. The video came across my feed on TikTok. That's how I came across it. And then I went and read the article. I want to just play some of the video for you just to sort of like catch us up on the themes of the article. Actually, wait. Before I do that, I do want to very quickly address this idea that Beyonce, wearing that Buffalo Soldier shirt, got up on stage and referred to Indigenous Americans as savages, as if that's what she was doing. I do want to address that because I understand people were genuinely hurt by that. And I cannot speak for any other group of people, and I wouldn't try to. What I will say is what my understanding of her message was. And that's all I will share is my understanding of what her message was in wearing that shirt. And you can take it or you can leave it. You can agree with me. You can disagree with me. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but my understanding of that shirt and her wearing that shirt was her doing what she has been doing with her entire album and with this entire tour, which is highlighting both the good, the bad, and the ugly of American history and Black American history in this country. She has taken great pains to highlight our stories Black Americans, our stories of triumph, our stories of tribulation, our stories of being downtrodden and oppressed, our stories of lifting up and finding strength and bravery where there was none, of turning over stones and talking about things that happened to us, through us, within us, throughout history. And the Buffalo Soldiers, right? That is another time period and encapsulation of Black American history that I do think deserves to have some light shed upon it. And so that is what I believe she was doing in wearing that shirt. I understand the takes that, highlighting that particular, because I believe it was kind of like a headline, an article, like a real life article that was printed that was then put on her shirt. I understand the idea that was insensitive. I don't think that was her intention. I think her intention was in keeping with the rest of the tour and the album, and generally her decision to put out country music, which is, I am going to showcase Black history and American history as holistically as I can through this art. That's what I saw. her doing. I want to address that because I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying like, no, she can do no wrong. I'm not saying that. It's just I understood that to exist in context, the way I've understood a lot of the things that she has said and sung and performed through the Cowboy Carter era to exist in context. And I think a lot of the hate about it, I'm not saying all of the hate. I understand the takes about it being insensitive, but do I think there are a lot of people who are jumping on this train like Amy from the comment section who are doing it simply because they want to jump on a hate train for a Black woman and specifically for Beyonce? Yes. That is plain as day. And that is why I have not even wanted to engage with it, because people don't want to have a nuanced conversation. People don't want to talk about the fact that indigenous people in America owned slaves. People don't want to have a contextual, nuanced conversation. And if you don't want to have the nuanced conversation, I'm not going to rack my brain trying to have it with you. But I didn't want to leave that unaddressed because, like, I do get the insensitivities around it. I do. But I'm pretty sure that's not what Amy was trying to do in these comments, okay? She was being a racist troll. Now let's jump into the New York Times piece.
Motherhood should come with a warning label.
I'm being penalized for giving birth.
I stepped up and nurtured the next generation, and
financially we pay a huge price. My career took the biggest punch from it.
Having children costs me around $750,000 in career earnings.
I'm giving up my pension, essentially.
The system is set up to shaft women.
So I do feel like there's going to be a penalty.
Financial penalty.
A motherhood penalty. I literally saw the motherhood penalty in action, right? Like, I was working at this massive organization, men who had kids came back from their parental leave, right? Worked super hard, just like threw themselves into it. And yes, they're probably going to get that promotion a year from now.
My first child coming back to work was a train wreck. I was constantly like going back and forth between working and nursing and working and nursing. And
I would pump about 3 times a day. So it would be about an hour total that I was away from my desk.
Trying to nurse a baby on a meeting, which is just a disaster.
I was constantly stressed, like, oh my gosh, is someone going to complain?
It goes on and on from there. It's a 5-minute video. You can find it on the New York Times TikTok. That gives you sort of an inkling of what they're speaking about here. And it did resonate with me, not because I believe I'm someone who's paying a motherhood penalty, but because I think I'm in the minority of women who isn't. And I have seen a lot of women have to sort of pay that penalty. And I guess I want to speak about it from my perspective of what I think I've done well, or maybe not well, but what I think I've done differently to maybe avoid being in the scenario that I see a lot of women in, and that I think a lot of the women in this article are talking about. And I realize this is a little bit of a departure from what we typically talk about on this podcast. We typically are talking about pop culture, but this is something that matters to me. And I don't know, this article sort of resonated with me. So I'm going to talk about it. Okay, here we are. I'm just going to do it. Skip over it if you don't want to hear it. Before I dive into my perspective, I will just say one thing that I had not considered until I read this article and watched those videos was this idea that when women take a big step back from their careers, which a lot of women do when they have kids, they're not just foregoing their salaries in that moment for those years in that time period. They are also foregoing their retirement savings because, of course, your contributions into Social Security are what dictate your ability to then take out from Social Security. And so if you forego large chunks, whole years, whole decades of contributions to Social Security because you don't have an income, then what you are owed from Social Security on the back end decreases dramatically. And for whatever reason, I had not put 2 and 2 together. So one of the things that a lot of the women in the videos and in the article are speaking about is the fact that, like, they're sort of screwed for retirement, particularly the women who are now divorced, right? So who did the thing, who left the workforce to raise their kids, but then got a divorce in there at age 50, age 60, whatever. They don't have the social security net that their husbands still do have, because their husbands worked and contributed into Social Security all that time. So their 401ks and Social Security and all that are like far more robust than what they've got access to. And I had not considered that. Okay. So if you too hadn't considered that, I would consider that for yourself as you're thinking about whether or not to stay or not stay as a part of the workforce if you're, a woman and having kids. So that's the first thing I did want to just call out. Here's the thing that I will say, and I just offer this up because it isn't something I feel like I hear enough women speak about often enough. Before my husband and I agreed that we were going to have a child, first of all, I was always very indifferent about it, kind of ambivalent about it. Eventually, I got to a place where I was sort of into it. He was always more into it than I was. But I was very clear for years leading up to it, before we even made the decision to do it. I was very clear, if we do it, I cannot do it the way I've seen every other woman I know do it. Like, I can't do that. I can't do the thing where the woman is 60, 70, 80% responsible and the man fills in the rest, which is just quite frankly what I had always seen. It's what I had seen with family members. It's what I had seen with close friends. It's what I had seen with coworkers. I had always seen the woman being not just more responsible, but far more responsible and taking on far more of the burden than the man. That was just like kind of across the board what I had seen. And to my husband's credit, he wasn't interested in that either. I don't think that's what he would have wanted had I been vocal about it or not. But we will never know, because I was extremely vocal about it, to the point where I was like, I won't do it otherwise. I won't do this if we're not going to do it 50-50. I won't do it. And he was very clear about that. And I was very clear about that. And like, we had many, many conversations about, okay, well, what does it look like to be 50-50, knowing that like I actually have to be the person who's carrying the baby. I have to be the one who's pregnant. So that won't be 50-50. So what does it look like? Part of it was my husband really didn't drink while I was pregnant, because I like to drink. Okay. I don't mind saying I like to drink. Drinking is an important part of my livelihood. I like to throw a couple back. So because I was making that huge sacrifice, and for me, it was a huge sacrifice, my husband did too. He really didn't drink either. Obviously, I did way more than that. I cooked an entire baby for 9 months, but like, that was a sacrifice I had to make. It was a sacrifice he made along with me. When the baby was born, I was very clear, I will be exclusively pumping so that we both can get up in the middle of the night to bottle feed this baby. It's not just going to be me waking up every 2 hours or however often they wake up, the child wakes up needing to be nursed. That's not just going to be me. It's going to be me and you. Now, because I was pumping, did I still have to wake up in the middle of the night to pump? Yes, I did. So even that, was it truly 50-50? No, it wasn't. But this was us figuring out, okay, how do we make this as 50-50 as we can? And we've done that like every step along the way of my child's life. To this day, we switch off who puts her to bed. Is it my night? Is it his night? We switch off who's making her lunch. Is it me? Is it him? Like, we really do our best. And while it's still not 50-50 right now, he's actually more of the primary parent than I am, for a whole host of reasons. But like, we really have tried very hard. And I was extremely intentional about that before we had kids. I think that's very important. If you wait until after you have kids and habits set in, I think that's very hard. We were very intentional about it before we had the child. And I think as a result, it's led to this idea that like our careers are equally important. So there might be a time where I take a step back, but there also might be a time where you take a step back, and we're always going to have that conversation of like, what period are we in right now? I ended up having almost no salary for like end of 2023 to middle of 2024, because my brand Minted Cosmetics was struggling a lot financially. I couldn't afford to pay myself a salary. And so we lived off of his salary. Now that my brand has been acquired and I'm actually running multiple brands, that's enabled me to have a much larger salary and him to take a step back and pursue some of his more startup pursuits and dreams. And so we've been kind of doing that for a long time, but like, because we've had open communication about it. So I offer that up to say, I just think some of these things could be avoided if people were much more intentional early on. Like, and by early, I mean before you have the child. Hey, here's what it needs to be if this is what we're going to do. And I think sometimes people don't want to have that conversation because it's like uncomfortable. And I rarely try to give out relationship advice. I wouldn't even really call this relationship advice. Is it? It kind of is, but it's not like, because some people give relationship advice like, be there for your husband, give him a massage, blah, blah, blah. And I don't have any of that for you. This is more advice for you to protect yourself and your career and your mental health. Okay. I think it's kind of relationship advice, but it's more like woman to woman advice, if that makes sense. I want to offer that up because I feel like I don't hear it enough. So with that out of the way, and maybe that was a welcome tirade, or you're like, girl, get to the pop culture. I will get to the pop culture. And as I get to the pop culture, I have to bring up Lauren Sánchez yet again, because I just have to mention the fact, like, I went to, as I was thinking about like pop culture topics to talk about today, I went to today.com, went to their pop culture section. The top story was Lauren Sanchez's sister shares new wedding pics, revealing one of the bride's other gowns. I have to tell you, it's so confusing to me why we keep trying to make Lauren Sánchez happen. What? I don't remember ever seeing this many articles about like Melinda Gates. Melinda Gates also was married to a billionaire for many years. I don't remember ever being like subjected to this many pop pieces and like puff pieces about her. Who gives a fuck? The only reason we covered it last week was because the wedding was so tacky that it was entertaining. Why are we still talking about this woman? The wedding was weeks ago. I don't care. I really just feel like there is this concerted effort to make conservative women chic and palatable, and I'm just not here for it. Anytime I see anybody talking about Lauren Sánchez, I'm going to hate on her. I just want y'all to know that. I'm going to hate on her. Maybe she's a nice woman. I doubt it. She doesn't seem that way. She seems terrible. It doesn't matter. You are either a Trump supporter or a Trump enabler, and you have no taste. So I just don't know why people are trying so hard to make Lauren Sánchez happen. I would like us to quit it. Let's quit it. She's rich. She doesn't need puff pieces. She doesn't need pop culture pieces. She doesn't need to be interviewed on red carpets. She doesn't need any of that. She has a yacht. She has many yachts, I'm sure. Many yachts, many planes, many maids, many chefs. Let her do that and leave the rest of us alone. I don't care about this woman. And I did not click into that article because who gives a fuck? Truly, leave me alone. All right, the next piece of pop culture I fear I have to speak about, even though I have not participated in any way, is Love Island. I don't know if anyone can have a pop culture podcast and not mention Love Island, even though I've never watched Love Island. I think one time I tried to watch it and I like couldn't get into it. And I'm sorry. I know like that's blasphemous because apparently the entire country is watching. Maybe I'll give it another shot. But like years ago when I tried, I couldn't get into it. But it has taken over. It feels like 50% of my feed on TikTok is about Love Island. And obviously the latest drama is about Sierra. Sierra is a contestant who used a racial slur. It rhymes with kinky, but starts with a ch. I'm not going to say it. She used a racial slur, I think a year ago, like in 2024, to describe the fact that she was getting work done, like Botox, to prevent her from having those blank eyes, kinky, but with a CH eyes. And she posted it on her Instagram, later removed it, but like had already been told a year before that how derogatory and harmful that word was. So she was aware. And so she got kicked off the island. People are very happy about it. But now the conversation has become that like, oh no, this is so terrible for her because like the whole world is like rooting against her and she doesn't know why. She doesn't know why she got kicked off Love Island. She just knows that she was kicked off. She's lost hundreds of thousands of followers. And like all of this has been too cruel. That has been like the next level of conversation that we've now gotten to, at least as far as my TikTok For You page is concerned. Like first it was, she's the worst. She used racial slurs. She's got to go. She's got to get out of here. Then she did leave. The producers did kick her off. But because the narrative has been so mean and she's lost hundreds of thousands of followers and there have been death threats, I guess, to her family, and her social media has been swarmed with so many negative comments. Now the conversation has become like, this is so much more negative than it needed to be. Okay, well, I'm going to give my take as a complete outsider. I have never seen an episode of Love Island. I've never interacted with this girl, Sierra. I don't know anything about her. All I know is all of this content that I have consumed about this particular situation with this racial slur. And what I have to say is, and this probably won't be surprising to all of you, you reap what you sow. There are consequences to your actions. And if there were more consequences for more people for their racist actions, we might not be in the situation we're in today. So while I'm not saying anybody should be getting death threats, definitely she should not. I'm not really here for the turn this conversation is taking towards, oh no, woe is her. She made the decision to use a word she knew was racist. She knew was derogatory. She knew it because she had been informed about it previously, and also because she's a grown-up person. She used it anyway. And not just used it, posted it. She posted it publicly for the world to see as an influencer. Like influencing was her job. Posting was her job. So you post something derogatory, offensive, and racist, and then you reap what you sow, but I'm supposed to like shed tears for you? No. In fact, I think this is the energy we should all keep for every single person who does the same. Let's keep this energy. Let them reap the consequences of their actions. Because we all know cancel culture, it lasts for a few months and then bada bing, bada boom, you're back. So I'm not here for the switch up. She did what she did. Now she's reaping the consequences of that. Again, I don't watch the show, but I support us holding people accountable for their actions and their words. I just do. Otherwise, what's the point? All right. And before we go, the final thing that I do want to mention is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Cynthia Erivo was asked to give her top 7 vocal performances. This was in an interview with Entertainment Weekly. And the clip that went viral was when she spoke about Cisco and the Thong Song, because I mean, he just does deliver an amazing vocal on that song. And as she says, like he takes it to a height that he definitely did not need to take it to for a song about a thong. But he does, and he delivers a fantastic vocal, gives a whole praise break, a whole key change. I mean, it is actually fantastic. And so this conversation or her video sparked a conversation between me and my husband on our top 7 favorite vocals. And I just had a fun time like speaking with him about like what are our favorites. So I wanted to give you guys my top 7. I'm trying to, am I going to remember all 7? It might just end up being top 5, but I just wanted to share with you my top vocals. Now, we did try to make it a little bit more difficult by saying we're talking about live performances only. So like where you were standing up and singing live, those were the vocals that we were focused on. So I will give you my top ones. These are not in any sort of order. But the people I absolutely positively would include. First of all, we have to talk about Kelly Clarkson. We have to talk about Kelly Clarkson. Kelly Clarkson, on some random day on her show, it was not a holiday, it wasn't a special day, it was like a random Tuesday, got up and decided to sing Celine Dion's All by Myself. And it made me so angry. When people deliver unbelievable vocal performances live, it really does make me angry. And this was one of those times I remember just sitting there like seething. Like, how dare you, Kelly Clarkson? How dare you? We will link it in the show notes. We'll link all of these so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I'm afraid if I play it for you here, YouTube will take it down and get mad at me, but it really and truly, and just Kelly in general, I feel like her voice has just continued to get better. She's one of these artists who has focused a lot on her voice. She always had a good voice from the moment we met her on American Idol, but she's taken care of her voice and it is so healthy. Her tone is so beautiful and she sings with intention. That's what these young girls aren't doing out here today. These young girls, they're not singing with intention. I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like they're like, okay, I can hit the note. She's not just hitting the note. She is delivering emotion. She's taking you someplace. So yes, absolutely. She's in my top 5. Number 2, and again, these aren't in order. Number 2, I have to include Whitney Houston's live national anthem at the Super Bowl. You must know what I'm talking about. You must know what I'm talking about. When she sang the Star Spangled Banner, it is still, in my opinion, the number 1 Star Spangled Banner ever. It was so crisp, so clean. And again, talk about singing with intention. That's somebody who will make you happy to live in America. That's somebody who will make you proud to be an American. Not that many people left who can make me feel proud to be an American. It's basically her, Beyoncé, and Obama. It's just not that many people who can still make me feel proud about being American. That rendition of the national anthem, it'll do it. Again, we'll link it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about because if you've seen anyone sing the national anthem, I pray to God you've seen that. Absolutely. That's in my top 5 for sure, for sure, for sure. Now, you already know I had to bring Beyonce into this. Obviously, you knew that. For me, the question was, which live Beyonce vocal was I going to bring into contention because she has so many spectacular live vocals. It really, oh my God, very, 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 very difficult for me to narrow it down. But I will say the one that I had to pick was, if you've seen it, she sang Dangerously in Love at the Grammys. This was when she was still very early in her career. This was in 2004. Okay, over 20 years ago. Oh, I beg you to go watch this performance. If you don't remember the layout, the way they laid it out, it basically was, she was a portrait, a painting, right? So there was a frame on the stage and everybody was super still and she's in the middle in her blue dress with like the rhinestones on top. And she has this big bun, very intricate bun. She's still and she's singing the song, and every so often everything in the portrait moves, right? Oh, the visual is fantastic. You know Beyonce loves the visual. The visual is next level, but the vocal is insane. And again, we're so early in her career. She basically had just given us her first solo album. This is her first time performing at the Grammys solo. She absolutely fucking crushes it. Performance of the night. No one even touches it. Okay. She's 20 something years old. It is unreal. Do I think she maybe has delivered stronger vocals? in other live performances, sure, her voice has only gotten better in the last 20 years, but something about this being her first Grammys as a solo artist and it being such a strong vocal combined with such an amazing visual, which Beyonce loves to give us. Oh, unbelievable. Had to be top 5. Now, this next one is going to be a bit of a deep cut for some of you who don't know how I get down. But Sarah Bareilles, first of all, if you didn't know that Sarah Bareilles is one of my top 3 favorite white women, that's my fault. I love Sarah Bareilles. I love her voice. I love her albums. I love her singing and her songwriting. She did a cover of Chandelier by Sia. This was 10 years ago. She was on tour. I believe she was on her Little Black Dress tour. She did a cover of Chandelier. It's still on YouTube. You can go find it. It's got like over 7 million views. Okay. Well, again, we'll link it. It is so good. If you don't know how hard that song is to sing, first of all, it is so hard to sing. Very, very few people attempt to sing it live. You barely see Sia attempt to sing it live. Not only did Sarah sing it live, she sings it with a ukulele. Okay, it's just her and a little ass ukulele out there singing this hard ass song. No production, no backup vocalist, and she crushes it. Oh, her voice. I love her voice so much. Her voice is so pure. But to sing that song with no backup vocals, just her and a ukulele, I can't tell you, it's one of the most brilliant vocals I've ever heard. Really and truly. I still return to it to this day. Sometimes I'm like, let me just go back and watch that. So good. Okay. And then the final one I'm going to mention that my husband and I both agreed had to be like on our list. Fantasia did a tribute to Patti LaBelle. This was over a decade ago. Okay. It was at a UNCF benefit, 30th anniversary, an Evening of the Stars tribute to Patti LaBelle. It's got 3 million views over on YouTube. She sings Lady Marmalade. Patti LaBelle. If y'all know anything about Patti LaBelle, what you need to know is she does not play when it comes to other singers singing her song. She is quick to be like, I'm all right, or to grab the mic and be like, I can do it better. Patti was she just was in another universe when she was listening to how well Fantasia sang this song. Fantasia took it, oh my God, to level 800 million. And Patti loved it. And Patti don't love everybody singing like that. She really does not. If you know anything about Patti, you know, she'll be quick to cut somebody off or roll her eyes or be like, she's not with it. No, it took Patti to another level. It took the whole audience to another level. It was so good. It's just impossible when you're listening to Fantasia sing this song and watching. It's impossible not to smile and not to want to get up too. Oh, so good. So amazing. So anyway, those are my top 5. I know I named at least 2 more when my husband and I were going back and forth. Those are the ones I remember. And frankly, they're all fantastic. I encourage you to watch them all and also to just have fun. Think to yourself, what are your top 5, top 7, top whatever vocals? And if you limit it to live performances, I do feel like that makes it even more fun because obviously if you're in the studio, you can like do a bunch of takes and loop this thing with that thing and whatever. And doesn't mean you can't deliver an amazing vocal in studio, but I think giving an amazing vocal live is absolutely something to celebrate. And it's just sort of fun to think about. So I appreciate Cynthia Erivo for giving us her list. And I'd love to know if y'all want to comment on social or on YouTube and let me know your list. I would love to know. I'm always in the mood to watch a good YouTube and see a good vocal. All right, folks, that is it for this week. Be sure to follow us on TikTok at 2 Queens, 2 Crowns and to check out the podcast on YouTube at 2 Queens, 2 Crowns. And as always, I would love for you to follow me on my personal socials. I'm on TikTok at @Iam_KJ Miller and YouTube with the handle IamKJ Miller. You should also follow Erica. She will be back soon. She is not doing well because she's got the food poisoning. So head over to her socials, send her some love. She's on IG at LettaBino and TikTok at Letta_bitchno. And we'll see you next week.